Hey Jeannie, thanks for joining us today and talking to us about your foster care ministry and the journey in your home. Tell us a little bit about your journey and who you are.
My name is Jeanne Sheahan. I started this foster journey with a calling from God. So I positioned in that with my husband, and then we had 2 children at the time. They were younger boys in middle school, and we all pretty much agreed that there was definitely a need. And we knew that if God was putting that on our hearts, that He would back us up and support us. So I started as the first key, and I did a picnic for defects girls in Cumming. And that's kind of how I baby stepped into it, and I did some mentoring. Did that for about 3 years and had some really great success stories. Still have contact with one now, 8 years later.
So you started out mentoring some young girls and eventually made the decision that you wanted to bring them into your family, make them part of your family. Tell me about how you got from mentoring to fostering.
Well, the very first, you always get the naysayers. So the very first one was, are you really going to bring girls into a home full of boys? What are they coming from? And our thought was, well, if we can raise our boys to be godly men, we can certainly have them help us show the girls how to be godly women. So for us, it was a great role model opportunity. Okay. And the boys bought into it. They were like, sure, we'd love to be a role model.
Okay.
And it's very much served that purpose because they've gotten to see from their background a whole type of male, future husband, whatever, that when they look back at today, they go, oh my gosh, I can't believe I thought that was attractive. So they've twisted, they've gone 180 to, I do want a Christian man. I want a man with a goal in life. I want a man who wants to stick with a family, be married, have children within a family. I mean, they've just done a 180, and it's only because they didn't know anymore when we brought them in. So
tell me about how you and your family work to assimilate the girls, the teens, into your family, beginning with that very first 24 hours. And take us through that very first phase.
You know, for our girls, it was definitely they just weren't used to any kind of order. So time management meant nothing. So I kind of had to teach them just, this is when you should get up, this is when you should go to bed.
Right.
This is what you need to do to prepare in the hours you have left. I mean, it was just really kind of basic. Same thing like the first foods, you know, their first reaction is to control what they know, which is safe. So they're going to look at your food and say, ew, you know, and with the 10-year-old 2 months later, I get that once a week versus every meal, you know, so she's kind of little by little realized, hey, this is pretty good stuff. But there'll always be a lot of resistance, and you have to look at it from their perspective. They're coming in, new friends, new church, new school, new rules, new house, new everything, and it's just overwhelming. So you must keep that in your mind that if you were in their shoes, you would be terrified. So that just helps you as the parent go, this is okay. This is just baby step it, you know. And
let's talk a little more about internet safety and entertainment consumption in your home and why you establish rules and boundaries for these and how you communicate those to the kids.
I just pretty much lay it down right away because you got to get that mindset in them first so they don't think you've given them freedom and then taken it away. So our first thought is, you know, this is a godly run house. We are not going to watch shows or look at things on the internet that are going to degrade you. So if there's anything R-rated or very degrading, it's blocked because we don't want that filling your head up with images. On the internet, there's a lot of bad people out there, and we're going to keep you safe from that until you can get a better idea of what the safe person is and what the safe person is not. And I said, and I will monitor, you know, your chats and things like that, because again, predators are everywhere. I'm going to trust you till I can't, but I have to monitor you as well, just being a parent. I have to monitor my own kids. I'm going to monitor you. I don't want you hurt.
Yeah. Sometimes teens will confuse accountability with trust. They'll feel like you don't trust them because you want to hold them accountable. Talk to me about how you establish boundaries and structure in your home, hold teens accountable, and help them learn to develop trust and maintain trust in your home.
If there is an issue with trust, not that I keep lists, but I'll keep just a few examples because they're like You know, they're like us. We're going to want to forget something maybe we didn't do the best the first time around.
Right.
And I'll just say, I maybe don't trust you now, but it's only because these are the things that are still in my mind. So until I feel you've learned the safe way of approaching things, I have to be cautious. So this is a trust issue that I'm watching over you. I'm not trying to get you. I'm watching and training and rearing you up in the best manner. You know, and there's a little resistance, but there's also, even with the 10-year-old, she's kind of like, you know, I really think she is. Even though she wants to do other things, she will listen when I call her out on something to say, this is not the best way to have done this. What would be another way that perhaps would have you feeling a little bit better about yourself right now? And just kind of reposition it, kind of give them a training on how to reposition themselves.
I've always suggested that you not do for your teens what they can do for themselves.
I agree. And I force them, you need an application for something, you go up and get it. You need to talk to a teacher, you go up and get it. And for my girls, that's been extremely important because they were very beaten down in their old life, so their ability to be assertive was very, very small. So working them up every day on just being more assertive with a positioning of, you got to do this as an adult, so let's be practicing this now. It's not because I don't want to do it, it's because you need to practice it. And again, I did that with my own children, so they've seen that. But forcing them into not being the helicopter mom, but forcing them into taking accountability for what they want.
You spoke about picking your battles and not trying to solve all the complex problems that teenagers can bring into your home. Can you give us an example of that?
Well, I'll just say, for example, the latest girl we brought in. We're picking our battles on just the responsibility in our house. Your number one job is to pick up after yourself.
Okay.
So you drop something, you pick it up, you put it away. So we're picking our battle on that, and we're picking our battle on changing eating habits. Because right now hers are becoming a little more destructive. So we're trying to tone her into just a moderation type program. But there's a lot of other issues that are overwhelming, and I'm, in all honesty, by the third week, I was in that, whoa, I can't do this anymore. I am so exhausted.
That's where we all get at some point.
And again, we have a great counselor, and she just said, pick them. What are the two that you've got to resolve first, and the others that are long term? And we kind of sat through it and talked about it amongst ourselves and with the child as well. And
how do you pick the main items to focus on, and how do you stay focused on them?
I actually currently do that all the time, even though I've been at this for 3 years, kind of working with 4 different children that have come in. You really do have to do it all the time, because when you bring in these foster children, even though you think you're working on a plan that's kind of worked for you before, it doesn't, or it doesn't work in the same manner, or it takes a twist. So you're constantly reframing. You're just constantly trying to think of, okay, well, this is taking longer than I thought, but in the meantime, you've got 3 other issues from 3 other kids. So you're just constantly reframing. But doing that with yourself, with God, and with your spouse, and then also doing it with the kids. These are the issues we're seeing. And actually, it's kind of working out well now to have all the kids in a room, all coming from their own little self-introspection, but hearing all the issues everybody's adding into as far as family. It kind of makes them feel like, well, I really should be more accountable. And you're getting this one's perspective on this child, and this child's then perspective on this one. And so family team meetings help a lot as well.
With 4 girls in your home, tell me how you have had to deal with the drama. How do you deal with the drama and all the things that go along with that?
Well, I'll just say bringing girls in from not raising girls was an eye-opener all into its own. With the sibling group, the drama was, one was really quiet and one just liked to talk a lot, and she would kind of focus in on Hollywood kind of topics is what I call them, you know. Who's hanging out with who's breaking who up, and I'm like, ugh, I just don't care about those things. So a lot of it is just a lot of teaching moments again of, you know, this is how God would like to see you run your life. This is kind of what you're focusing on.
Okay.
And again, you're not going to train that overnight, but
Right.
you know, little by little, they start to see, yeah, I really did kind of talk about some things that really weren't important. Well, now the 10-year-old is extremely dramatic. And so we're working on that. And the harder part is, again, a lot of these kids are going to deny it because they're going to think that's normal to them.
Yeah.
So the outsider looking in is like, whoa, chill. And I'll do that a lot. I'll just kind of come up behind her and I'll go, and then she'll be, and then 30 seconds later, but, you know, it's a lot of discussions again on, you know, God wants you to watch your tongue. When you talk against some other little girl in your grade, one, God doesn't like that, but that's also just not building that person up. If you're not going to build them up, don't speak it. And what goes around comes around.
Yeah.
So, you know, you're hitting middle school pretty soon. You trash people now, you're going to get trashed later.
Yeah, okay.
And I don't want to have to be the one to say, I told you so, but that's the pattern. So watch what you're saying. Would you say that to the person directly? Just all those kinds of things.
I appreciate your transparency. There's a lot of people that just don't feel like they can be transparent with kids. There's this sense of they need to be perfect around their kids. But you and I know that our kids see our faults. They see our failures. How have you actually used your shortcomings, your failures, your faults? How have you used those as teachable moments with your children?
In the beginning, they kind of, again, they didn't believe it because they didn't really trust anybody, but they would see different instances of, you know, I really did mean I did something that was hurtful, or, you know, maybe not in the manner they thought I should do it. But over time, they've definitely come to understand that I am a real person. I do get angry. I do get overwhelmed. And some of that, I point out to them every day. I'm like, look, you're going to have to back off because I'm pretty much hitting my limit here. I've got this and this and this and this. And once they hear it all, they'll be like, wow, you do have a lot going on. I'm like, yeah. So if I snap at you for something, don't internalize it like one always does. Very tenderhearted. Yeah. Just take it as, give me the time to get my stuff that I need in order. Right. I'll get to you. I can't get to you this very second, but just, you know, and I'll tell them a lot of times when I'm really hitting that peak of, I can't take any more right now. Give me 10 minutes, give me half an hour, or a weekend.
Whatever it takes.
But they understand. I mean, they see it, and they know that if I'm overstressed, it's not going to come back on them as good.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times they'll actually step up and help out. Whereas before, they're in another world and they're not even thinking about it.
Tell me a little bit about how the community of care has been there as a support to you.
For us, we've actually gained, you know, handfuls of people that we didn't know before who are now very dear to us because they are in our community of care. So we kind of came from being alone to having a whole lot of different people we can call and can help us. So it's kind of been like adding friends to our life. So it's been awesome.
Jeanne, I want you to look out at the audience that's viewing this discussion today, and some of them are, you know, they're either thinking, I just don't know if I can do this. Why don't you talk to them about the lessons you've learned in the last 3 years particularly, and how you've come to those places where you've gotten through them?
I guess the biggest thing that I look at is, you know, God called me to do this, but He didn't call me to do it in what the world frames as this is what you can handle. He called me to do something bigger and greater. And if you look through the Bible, those stories are all people who maybe weren't so great to begin with, but did bigger and greater when they relied on God. And so that's pretty much how I've jumped into it. And it is very scary. But I'm going to tell you, 3 years later, that's the coolest part about it, because I have learned so many ways that what I did 3 years ago versus what I can do today is so much broader and bigger, and I just have such a different outlook on things because you're asking God all along, what do I say to this child today? How do I get my attitude back where it should be? You know, and you just learn what is it God wants you to do, not what does Jeanne think is going to happen today, or how is Jeanne going to react to this? It's, God, what am I supposed to be helping out with in this situation? I'm here to serve. give me the words. And I do that all the time. Just give me the words, because mine aren't going to be very good right now. Give me the words. And just, it's really amazing just to have that feeling. And I have so many examples where all of a sudden I'm at peace and I just know this looked like a big deal yesterday, but today, you know what? It's really not.
Jeanne, thank you so much for sharing your personal life, for being so real and honest with folks, and particularly allowing us to be a part of your foster care ministry journey. You've taught us a lot, and I just want to thank you for being here, and I hope that you'll come back and talk to me some more, and as we explore this whole adventure of hearing God's voice to care for the least and the last and the lost in our neighborhoods and communities. You're a great example of that. Thanks for being here.
Awesome.